Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and today I am back with another subscriber requested video for you. So I was recently asked to talk about oud fragrances. I don't have a ton in my collection, I'm not gonna lie. I do have a ton of samples. I've got a lot of oils that are in storage. A lot of Swiss Arabian oils that are in storage that I wasn't able to get out. I do have some full bottles here. So I'm just gonna jump right in. So I am kind of a lightweight when it comes to oud. I'm not a big fan of a really oud heavy fragrance. I'm not a big fan of an animalic oud. For me to really like an oud fragrance, I need to be able to smell the other notes in it. I find that with oud, a lot of the time, the oud overpowers the entire fragrance and then you end up just smelling oud and that's all, which I just find to be quite boring. I want to smell other things. I don't want to just have this singular note experience. So all of the fragrances that I have that have oud in them, I have a multi-note experience with. I can smell more than just the oud. I can smell the oud, but I can smell more than just oud. So the first one we're gonna talk about is this one here. This is Ragwa from Latava. This is a really inexpensive, I feel like a really great beginner oud fragrance. This one for me this is sweet. It's got a lot of vanilla in it. It's got some sandalwood in it. It's got a little bit of incense in it as well as oud, and you can smell all of those things. You're not just getting, oh, it smells so good. You're not just getting a heavy oud. It's a really beautiful mild oud that blends beautifully with all of the other notes. And it's warm and sweet and cozy, almost slightly gourmand smelling. It's just beautiful. I think this is a perfect beginner oud because it's really easy on the nose and it's not super expensive either. So yeah, that is the first one. This was one of my first oud fragrances that I bought a full bottle of. I have had tons of samples before, but this is one of the first full bottles of an oud fragrance that I purchased, and I do love it. So it took me a long time to come around to oud, I will tell you. So anyways, that is Ragwa from Latava. This next one is one of the strangest fragrances in my collection, hands down. It's just such a weird perfume, but there's something about it that I love. This is a fragrance from a house called Rihanna, not Rihanna the singer. It's spelled differently. You can find this on Fragrance X. This is a fragrance called Velvet Amber Oud, and this is like a fresh, incensey oud. Fresh being the key word. It's strong, but it's fresh. It stays. It's got like a mountain air note in it. It smells like a light, fresh incense to me. It reminds me of, I talked about this in the Perlinera video that I did, where I said basically other Gen Xers out there that back in the 90s, you guys remember those like incense displays that were kind of everywhere in the 90s where you could pick out 10 for $1, and there were all these fantasy scents like fairy dust and blood magic and, you know, just all these crazy like fantasy notes. That's what this reminds me of. This perfume reminds me of a fantasy incense note, or of like a fantasy incense fragrance. It's really, really odd. It's oud, but the oud again is really, really light. It blends beautifully with everything else. It doesn't pull away from the freshness. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It's strong. This thing is an absolute beast. Every fragrance we're gonna talk about today is a beast. You're talking 10, 12, 24 hours if you wanted to. This is really, really affordable as well. I think it's less than $25. It's a huge bottle. I don't know that I would say this is a good beginner one just because, I don't know, I think it might be a little overpowering for somebody just getting into oud, but I love it. So anyways, that is Velvet Amber Oud from Rihanna. Okay, next we have, this one has been so hyped up in the fragrance community for so many years, but for good reason. It's a stunning fragrance. It's such a good alternative to Lancome Oud Bouquet. I like it even better than Oud Bouquet, and it's a stunner. This is Shaghaft Oud from Swiss Arabian, and this is basically a spot-on clone for Lancome Oud Bouquet, but this one is better. This one's a little bit smoother. It's like a sweet oud rose fragrance. It's like oud rose and vanilla, or oud rose and praline. Oud rose, praline, and vanilla. I think it's got all of them in there. It's beautiful. It's warm. It's really, really rich. The oud is much stronger than the first two that I talked about. This is like a proper strong oud fragrance. proper strong oud and rose fragrance, but I love it because it's still smooth and it's sweet. And it's really, really cozy. So even though it is a strong oud fragrance, it's sweet enough and smooth enough that it doesn't overpower me, and I love it. It's a beast. This is a one spray and done, and you will smell like this until you wash it off. It's amazing. It's an amazing price as well. I think you can find it on Amazon for a really good price. It's just a great fragrance. So anyways, that is Shag Half Oud from Swiss Arabian. Okay, we may as well talk about Lancome Oud Bouquet. This is the first oud fragrance I had ever smelled. I feel like they were one of the first Western companies that ever really made an oud fragrance. And yeah, this is oud, rose, praline, vanilla. This one is much lighter than Shag Half Oud. Lighter than Shag Half Oud, a little bit sweeter, not quite as heavy. The rose in this one is a little bit more candied smelling. This is like, if you know what Rose's Berberanza smells like, if you took Rose's Berberanza and added an oud note. That's kind of what Oud Bouquet smells like. The reformulation. Now the original formulation is closer to Shag Half Oud. They reformulated Oud Bouquet, and I think they lightened it up a little bit to appeal more to Westerners, honestly. I love the reformulation of this one. I wasn't a fan of the original formulation because I felt like the oud in the original formulation had that kind of burning rubber note to it. It was a screechy oud and it wasn't super nice. It smelled like Shag Half Oud, but Shag Half Oud is done properly. With a really nice smooth oud note, not a screechy one like the original formulation of Oud Bouquet had, in my opinion. I feel like they did a much better job in the reformulation, which I still don't think is as good as Shag Half Oud though. So anyways, that is Lancome Oud Bouquet. Next we have got this guy here. This is another Latava fragrance. This is Arabian Oud Intense, and this is basically Replica by the fireplace, but with oud in the base. It's stronger, it's just more intense. It's smokier, it's woodier, it's sweeter. It's Replica by the fireplace, but an intense version with oud in it instead of chestnut and whatever kind of wood, gaiac wood I think is in the base of Replica by the fireplace. Really, really beautiful. They're not dupes. They're smell-alikes, not dupes, not clones by any means. I feel like you can own both and not feel like you have the same fragrance. They smell very similar in the bottle, but they wear very differently. This is another one that I feel like is a great beginner oud. If you like Replica by the fireplace, I think this would be a great way to get into, more ouds and more Middle Eastern fragrances. Also, it's really, really affordable, and if you hated it, you could easily resell it like on Mercari or something. It's just a really good one. So anyways, that is Latava Arabian Oud Intense. And then last but not least, I have another little oil here. I will link this. It's from Triple Traders. It doesn't have any markings on it, so I'm gonna have to go through the website and find it because I'm not totally sure what fragrance this is anymore. They did send this over to me. It's been months ago. It was like in the summertime, and I've completely forgotten now what the name of this fragrance is. It's really, really nice though. This is another oud rose combination. Yeah, but this is intensely sweet. This is like oud and rose, but amp up a ton of vanilla in the base. It's a really, really sweet oud and rose. The oud is really mild in this one as well, so I think this would be a great little beginner oil. Just think oud, rose, and just a ton of fluffy, sweet, yummy, custardy vanilla. It's so good. Again, I will link it. It's pretty, I feel like this one was really, really affordable. I don't know, less than $15 maybe. I will link it again, and I'll of course have it on the screen for you so that you know what we're talking about. But yeah, another really good beginner oud kind of fragrance. Really, really beautiful. So anyways, guys, those are the limited amount of oud fragrances that I do have in my collection. I do hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.